Hey guys, Max Stronk here with three great options for ISK making for newer players. Actually, anybody can do this, but really for newer players. Probably the best way to make ISK when you're starting out is actually through the exploration. And basically, you go around looking for cosmic signatures that are relic sites or data sites. Hack them and get the loot. There's some skills you want to train for it. Usually your astrometrics, range finding and pinpointing, and your hacking and I think it's archaeology is the other one. So basically you have to hack the little nodes here, looking for the system core to be able to unlock the can with the loot in it. If you have a cargo scanner, you can scan the can ahead of time and see if there's anything worthwhile in there. In this particular instance, I'm in a wormhole. Wormholes can be found pretty much anywhere in New Eden, and those are another things you have to scan down. This particular wormhole I found a connection from ISK from. The site was undefended, and I'm just hacking and looting. And so, this particular one, we got close to $7 million or million ISK worth of loot from the one site. There's not much else you can do for that. That's probably where I could probably buy. I'd say at least three of the ships that I'm in. I'm flying the Heron here. It's a very cheap fit. So you're not risking a lot, but wormhole space is really dangerous. You have to pay attention to your D-scan all the time because nobody shows up in local. But if you're careful, you can make a lot of ISK here. And like I said, right now I've already got enough to pay for 3 ships. So if the next time I go out and I get blown up, I'm still ahead of the game. Everything in EVE is, kind of risk versus reward. The riskier activities you make more from. Wormholes are, probably not something you're going to want to do your very first day. Build up a little bit of your skills, and then go for it. And if you have enough ISK already that you can afford to lose a couple ships, just go for it. These particular sites can also be found in high-sec. They're just nowhere near as profitable. The one thing in wormhole space, a lot of times there's rats at these sites, and you're not going to be able to fight them with your little T1 frigates. I've actually lost a few ships over the years landing in sites and not getting out fast enough. So here we're back to our wormhole. I mean, one thing here you have to get fairly decent at is remembering to bookmark things. Otherwise you can get lost very easily. Starting out, I only go into the first wormhole. I don't continue on down the chain. Usually that one's kind of a dangerous hole because people are looking for other people doing exactly what I'm doing, going for the relic and data sites and various mining sites. So you have to pay attention. One thing to watch for on your D-scan is if you see any type of probe scanner and it's not yours, somebody's in the system and they're most likely looking for you. So at that point you need to make your choice of, are you going to stay and keep doing what you're doing, or are you just going to leave? If you have a lot of loot in your cargo hold, I would get out, get to back to where you came from and sell your loot. You can go back in after and try some more. If you don't have much in your cargo hold, maybe risk it. Make sure you bookmark a safe. And generally the best or the easiest way to do it is to warp between 2 places. So you enter your wormhole, pick a planet or a moon far away, warp to it, and mid-warp, add a bookmark. That should give you a space that's not near anything anybody can easily warp to, and they will have to scan you down to find it. And you should always do that in wormholes, and it's good to have a couple spaces. That way, anything happens, you get out. You get to your safe space. So the other night on one of my alts, I was in a wormhole doing some gas cloud harvesting, and I noticed somebody in the system, and there was a goon in a Stratios, and they landed in the site that I was harvesting on. But since I was aware that they were there and were looking for me, I was able to get to my safe, and from my safe I bounced back to the wormhole. Well, the wormhole collapsed, and so I couldn't get out the way I came in, so I had to warp back to my safe and just log out and wait till they went away, and then figure out a new way out of there. Not a big deal. So here's the high-sec site. These are a lot easier to hack as well, but like I said, there's not as much money in it. I would definitely practice on these before going into the wormhole space for the sites, and do half a dozen or something like that to get the hang of it before you head to the wormhole. So this is what not even 300,000. I don't know what you get out of these different sites. Yeah, 110,000 from that one. So we're not making anywhere near as much. I'd probably have to do half a dozen sites at least to be able to pay for the ship here. But it's less risky. You could still get ganked, but it's not as common. You're probably more likely to get killed near the gates or the trade hubs than at some of these sites. It's not a lot of reward in ganking somebody other than the fun of it. So what you can do is just go to a close station, drop your loot off, and keep going. You could sell it. In the past, I used to just dump loot all over. It was kind of a pain going back and getting it. So I actually haven't done a ton of exploration in a while. So, like I said, the wormholes can be found pretty much anywhere. They're not always in every system. I'm in a high-sec system here, scanning down this wormhole. And I'm still in my explorer ship here. So we'll warp to it. Now remember I said wormholes can collapse, so they don't last forever. And usually they give you a little bit of information to tell you roughly how long they'll last. If you live in wormhole space, one of the things you want to do to get hole control is to collapse or roll the wormhole. So collapsing the wormholes so that nobody can get in or out. And usually, once you do that, you're relatively safe in your space unless somebody's hidden in there that you don't know about. So here I warped to the wormhole that I scanned down, unstable wormhole, and I'm not getting a wormhole. Well, what's going on here? And actually, I couldn't figure out what was going on at first. Well, apparently, this wormhole is at the end of its life, and you'll see in a second, it's gone. Now, if you were inside the wormhole, that means you cannot get out the way you went in, and you're going to have to find another way out. So now I'm in a different wormhole, and one of the things in there is the cosmic anomalies, and they have ore sites, and the ore in the wormholes is much, much better than you're going to find in high sec or even low sec in a lot of cases. Null sec is better. If you really want to be a miner, your best bet is to join a large null sec corporation, maybe Pandemic Horde or Goons or something, and you've got access to the best ore, and you can do the mining there in somewhat safety. nothing's ever completely safe in Eve, but it's definitely more profitable, and you'll make so much more mining in nullsec than you ever will in high sec. Wormholes are okay. Like I said, the ore quality is much better, so you'll make a lot more. I'm just in my exploration ship here doing a demo. Normally you do, set up, probably a venture would be your best bet to start with, because it's relatively inexpensive. You can get in and out. You can fit the probe scanner on it. If you live in a wormhole, then you could have regular mining stuff and be all right. Logistically, living in mining holes is much more complicated, because once your wormholes entrances collapse, where the next one opens up, you don't know, and it could be a long ways away from a trade hub or where you'd prefer to be. So I would, as a regular miner, I would say nullsec is your best place to be. One thing in the wormholes, you can't check market data. To get information on some of the wormholes, you can see this one is J105059. There's a website, Eve. You could search for Eve Pasta, and you could type that number in there, and it'll give you some basic information about your wormhole, like the class of wormhole, what kind of static it has, and what kind of activity's been in there recently. Sometimes you'll find out that a corporation or several corporations live in there, or there's currently a lot of fighting going on in that system. That'll let you know, how careful you have to be, or maybe it's not worth being in there at all. Oh, and the other thing is, like, what's more boring than mining is watching somebody else mine. So we're just going to do a little sample here of the different ores. ABC is the one that you generally look for, the most valuable. So you can see a couple of these I'm mining here. This takes forever, and the ISK, is better than high-sec ore, but it's still not that great. This certainly wouldn't be my first choice for making ISK, but one of the big problems is, if you're an alpha clone, or even if you're just starting out, you don't have the industrial skills to even remotely compete with other people in the major markets. If you could find a market like in low sec or close to low sec or null sec, where a lot of PvPers go, you might be able to make some stuff there, and because you're selling it at a higher price than you would at the major trade hub, and maybe be profitable there. But I definitely, wouldn't advise trying to compete as an industrialist. Definitely as an alpha clone. If you trade up your skills as Omega, then you can. You're still, nullsec is the best place to manufacture this stuff. You get bonuses. I guess lowsec too, with engineering complexes. If they have the right fittings and stuff, you could do all right. I would, I've made some money doing it. I've made my own stuff. Probably the most profitable, I'd say, is finding hot PvP areas and supplying the things that the individuals there use a lot. You can look at, kill boards and stuff like that to try to get some idea of what kind of fittings they use. But it's still you have to do a lot to set that up. The other thing with a new player, you don't have the reprocessing skills. And so what you'll find out is, if you reprocess your own ore, you actually lose money. You're better off selling your ore and buying the minerals to manufacture your stuff with. and that'll never change for an alpha clone. You simply can't train the skills. As an Omega, you can have characters that do that, and I actually do have some reprocessing characters that I can actually buy ore off the market, reprocess it, and sell the minerals at a profit. I don't really do that, but I do reprocess my own stuff for my manufacturing, for capital ships and things like that. This right here is going to be probably your number 2 best ISK making opportunity, and that's gas cloud harvesting in wormhole space. The gas clouds you find in ISK are not worth a lot. I don't even know if it's worth the time. This one you're not going to be able to do from day one, most likely, because you have to have your mining skill, I think, at level 4 to train the gas cloud harvester. The gas cloud harvesting skill book was over 26 million ISK. That's very expensive, and this is actually something I've never done before, and partially because I didn't think it was going to be worth it. But it is. Risk here, like I said before, in these sites in the wormhole, is the rats coming in, and if you have your safe, you can just bug out to that, or you can go to the sun or celestial or something else. The gas clouds, there might be about 10 different ones, I think. They vary in value significantly, so you kind of have to pay attention to what their values are. You could do a search on like Eve Central for the gas cloud prices, give you an idea of what they're worth. There's other sites, actually Eve University, their wiki on wormhole sites will give you some information as to what you can expect from a site even while you're scanning it down. The one thing you really want to pay attention to is the sites that have sentry guns in them, because they will wreck you. And that's helpful to know while you're scanning down. It gives you the basic name of the site, and you can avoid those. They do have really valuable gas in there, but they'll wreck a venture quickly. So I'd just stay away from those. So in general, with the gas cloud harvesting, I've been averaging about $15 to $16 million a load in the venture. That buys a ton of ventures. So this one is a great reward versus what you're risking. The big downside is the roughly $27 million you have to pay for a skill book. So, you pretty much are going to want to have like 30 million ISK to invest in this, but you can earn that back in a couple of trips. So I think it's worth doing, and one of the best options, especially for alpha clones, to make a decent amount of ISK. If you were super dedicated, you might even be able to plex your account with this. It would be extremely boring, but it might be possible. So those are, some of the best ISK making options I have for new players. Exploration, especially hit the relic sites. Wormholes are really worth it. Gas cloud harvesting, even mining if you want to, is definitely more profitable than anything you'll find in ISK. And good luck. And I'm going to fit up my Proteus and come say hi. See you next time.